Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. Great article here from 9 to 5 Mac. I will leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check it out. Is Verizon in trouble? It's a serious question here. So yesterday, new iPads dropped, the iPad Pros, and they also dropped 5G millimeter wave support as carrier rollouts stumbles. No other carrier besides Verizon is really pushing it. And even as Verizon continues to deploy, it's not gaining any meaningful scale. So now, and I'm sure it was a design choice by Apple because it is now the thinnest iPad in the world. They simply removed the millimeter wave antennas. It is not a part of the new iPad. So now the big question becomes, what if Verizon, not Verizon, what if Apple doesn't include it in the iPhones? Is that even a possibility? Could it make the iPhones cheaper if it didn't have millimeter wave support? So that would be, we're speculating, of course, because none of that is official at this time. But what if it happens? Is millimeter wave at that point DOA? Is it done? If Apple does not include it in the newest iPhones, is it done? Is it finished? At that point, does Verizon just go back to the small cells and they just rip millimeter wave for C-band? Apple is a big player. If they remove it from their devices, starting with the iPad, mind you, the last year's iPad had millimeter wave on board. So that leaves open the discussion and the speculation. What if it doesn't make it onto the new iPhone? It is a possibility. It is very possible. For those of you who remember, Apple used to have great quality control in the past. And if your network did not have a certain technology at scale, it was not going into the iPhone. Ask T-Mobile, ask Sprint. They had to get LTE to a significant percentage deployment-wise for them to even get the iPhones. You cannot back then, you couldn't go to Apple and say, hey, look, we got a smidge of WiMAX here. We got a smidge of HSPA. Put it in the iPhone. No, you had to have it deployed to the majority. And that has not happened with millimeter wave at all, which has me actually questioning how did they even get millimeter wave into the iPhone to begin with? So I tell you what, if this happens, if it doesn't go into the iPhone, AT&T and T-Mobile teams are going to rejoice. They're going to rejoice because it's not a significant part of any of their deployments. Only Verizon has really pushed the millimeter wave deployments. That's all that's all they did before they got C-band. And even now, post C-band, they're still deploying millimeter wave. Not as aggressively, but they're still deploying it. So if Apple has a new direction, a design choice for the new iPhone, you best believe Verizon is going to try to fight that. If they have to fight it, and this is, let's say this is happening behind the scenes, and I think, Verizon would already be aware if that does happen. Verizon would likely have to pay Apple to make a separate model with millimeter wave on it specifically for them. And if the other carriers are approached about doing that, I guarantee you T-Mobile is going to say nope. And AT&T will say nope. They will not want to pay extra for another model of an iPhone that has millimeter wave on board. So the only carrier that would get that model would be Verizon. And they would have to pay for that. So I want to get your guys' take on that. Is this an alarm? Is Verizon really in trouble? And the reason I point out Verizon is because they've been the ones to take millimeter wave the most serious, right? They're still talking about doing the multi-dwelling units with millimeter wave for FWA. They can do point-to-point, and they could do that, right? They could put that in the router, do point-to-point, and I think that's where it's most effective. I have millimeter wave in my market, as an example. It's deployed in a lot of neighborhoods to a decent scale. Decent, right? I can drive the entire market with a Verizon phone and I will not connect to millimeter wave unless I head to those specific areas. But I have no friends, family, anything work related in these neighborhoods. So I never travel to them unless I'm going to do testing. So again, it's a Verizon choice. They wanted to do this big. If Apple, if their quality control comes out and says, look, it's a design choice of ours. We no longer want to include millimeter wave. Nobody's rolling it out to any significant scale. And if you want a model that has millimeter wave on board, you have to pay extra. It's very possible. It could. I'm speculating here. The only thing we have official is that the iPad dropped the antenna, no millimeter wave. It could come time, right? September, when Apple releases and all the models have millimeter wave. It's a possibility. But there's also that chance that by design choice, millimeter wave does not make it onto the new iPhones. Very possible. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.